Banana. Hey, Detroit. How does this? What happened? Detroit. How we doing? How we doing? I don't know what the bit plan was. Get it. I don't know what the bit was plan wise, but I saw the broom and I'm like, I'm 95% sure this is our first sweep of the year. So I had to make it last. Give me a sec. It's 9 in the morning. Give me a break here. If you're wondering, Jared, why the stupid hat? I'm going on vacation. As mentioned, with probably a gazillion times, me and Ashlyn are going on a 5-day Caribbean cruise together. So I figured, why not be a big a-hole and wear this big hat during this entire time? I have other bits planned with this hat. Like if the Phillies get swept, I have like here. Hold on, let me grab it because it's right here. Oh, like next time the Phillies get swept, which might be this weekend, but we'll get to that. I'm gonna wear this. Crab time. All right. Welcome back to .NET Phillies. We are all positive vibes here for many reasons. The Phillies just if let me preface this. If I sound weird, it's currently 8:45 in the morning. I was gonna record last night, but then I decided no. So I played Call of Duty with my friends instead. So sue me, get mad at me, or probably none of you care. I have a very heavy inkling that nobody was really clawing to watch me talk about this Detroit Tigers series, and nobody was upset that the episode didn't come out last night compared to this morning. So, also morning episode. Haven't done one of them in a while. I think the last time I did a morning one was the Diamondback series last year when they got swept out or lost two. No, it was when they lost 2 or 3. They should have won 2 out of 3, but then they blew that first game. I think that was the last time I did a morning episode like this. So a little crazy. I have coffee. Don't worry. I have I'm a basic guy, sugar cream, but I put a little bit of like the Marshalls create like syrups you can put in there. I put a little cookie dough in there, a little added up, a little spice. But let's get back on track. You people probably don't care about my life and don't care about what's going on with me. You just are poking me with a stick, going talk about baseball, baseball guy. Talk about baseball. Or you don't again, I don't know who my audience is. I just do this because I love doing it. And that's the most important thing, right? Maybe, kinda. Reel it in, Roberts. Reel it in. All right. So, welcome back to .NET Phillies. In today's episode, we got headlines. We're going to go over the sweep that the Phillies just did on the Detroit Tigers. We have another segment of Where Are They Now? And then a series preview against the LA Dodgers. And then I'm going to be wrapping it up talking about the episode that's going to come out on Monday that I recorded last week. And we'll talk about that. I've alluded to it a little bit, but I finished it. I edited it and it's ready to go. And I will let you guys know when that's going to be released and kind of what we talk about. So you're not really going in there blind. So that's what we got on the docket today. So headlines. We have Jose Alvarado is going to be activated either today or tomorrow. I forget what Gelb said. I believe it was today, which probably means Dylan Covey is going to be DFA'd. Thank Christ. And now you're adding Alvarado to a bullpen that has been lights out. Obviously, they weren't last night, but we'll get to Kimbrel in a second. But for the most part, this bullpen has been dominant. Your biggest question mark right now, especially with Alvarado coming back, is Connor Brogdon. And Brogdon's a confidence guy. As soon as he gets on a roll, you can rely heavily on that guy. I think, the worry about Connor Brogdon is kind of being overworked a little bit. I felt like for a couple weeks stretch that Rob was using him in almost every game or every other game. And I don't blame him, because if he's pitching well, you might as well use your best pitcher in the most opportune times. And we saw that in the playoffs last year with Alvarado and Seranthony. So adding Alvarado to this bullpen, when you have Kimbrel, who's been awesome, you have Seranthony, who's been great. Soto's been awesome recently. Yeah, again, like I always say, like Soto, yeah, the numbers, you look at it, you're like, oh, he's not that good. He has like a 5 ERA, but if you look deeper into his numbers, you can tell he's been really, really good. Hoffman, who's come out of nowhere and has been lights out for them. With who else is in that bullpen? Soto, regardless. Oh, Vasquez, awesome. Strom, awesome. How did I forget these guys? And now you add in Alvarado. Like, this bullpen has been great in Alvarado's absence, and now you're adding him to this bullpen. And you don't have to rely heavily on him, because in years past, the Phillies have always had like a guy, or like last year, a couple guys that you can really ride the hot streak of and rely on them. Alvarado, I think if you keep Kimbrel in the closer's role, who he has been really, really good, and yes, he blew the save yesterday. He gave up the lead, but we'll talk about that once we talk about game 3, because I didn't hate the decision to go to Craig Kimbrel in that situation. But you keep Kimbrel in there, again, who has, 400 saves. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I think, he's been really, really, really valuable to us, more valuable than I thought he was going to be. And if you leave him in there, now you have flexibility with Alvarado. Say you get to the 7th, 8th inning, it's a tie game or it's a 1-run game, and in the 8th inning, they have their 3, 4, 5 guys up. You can throw Alvarado out there to go at him, and then you throw in Kimbrel in the 9th. Or, you can use Alvarado as a fireman, which I prefer him in that role, because I trust him to get the best guys out in any given situation, as opposed to assigning him to that 9th inning. So it'd be interesting to see what Rob Thompson does. I think he's a smart enough baseball guy to kind of stick with the formula that's been working, which is Kimbrel in the 9th, and piece together everything after that. So, and we won't have to ride Alvarado as much, nor with Seranthony, especially with the guys stepping up. Like I mentioned, Hoffman, Vasquez, Strom, Soto, Kimbrel. Like, we have guys here who can tackle big innings, even Brogdon, so you don't have to ride those guys as much. And I think that's why we're not seeing as much as Seranthony, or obviously we saw a decent amount of Alvarado. But with Seranthony, I think they're trying to manage workload right now, because they saw the injury happen to Alvarado. And they're kind of like, okay, we're going to lean off a little bit, make sure you're good, kind of baby steps, especially when these guys are stepping up. But that, needless to say, like, Seranthony was a fireman yesterday. Yes, he gave up the run, but it wasn't really his fault. It was a bit of a defensive miscue. You had Clemens and Stott both charging the ball. Nobody was covering first. He would have gotten the out at first if somebody was covering, and then you figure it out from there. But we ended up winning anyway, so. And another big headline is Alec Bohm could also return. He's been working out a lot, said he's feeling good. So keep an eye out for Alec Bohm to return, and that's just going to add so much to this lineup. We know the capability of what Bohm can do, and especially if he was hurt the past couple, week or so, adding a healthy Alec Bohm, one who can drive the ball more, it's going to be big. We've had big contributions. We had the Drew Ellis game. Cody Clemens has, in a more starter role, I guess, has stepped up. And I mentioned my love for Cody Clemens, and you get what I mean. I mentioned the value that Cody Clemens brings to this team, as composed to a guy like Josh Harrison, who we'll also get to, but that's story for game 3. Let's get right into it, shall we? Game 1, Phillies 8, Tigers 3. My players of the game were Aaron Nola and Trey Turner. We finally get the Trey Turner game as a Philly. And yes, he didn't have a hit after this game. Had a couple walks, hits the ball hard, are returning the corner with Trey Turner. Maybe. And I have to tamper my expectations of this team going into this Dodgers series, because it was the Detroit Tigers. Jared, the Detroit Tigers have a better record than the Phillies. No, that team sucks. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. The Detroit Tigers are terrible. I don't know how they have as many wins as they do. Probably because they play in the AL Central, which that division should just be abolished. The Minnesota Twins are 31-32 and are in first place. So what does that tell you about the strength of that division? Anyway, so we, in terms of looking into this game, you had Trey Turner with an RBI single in the first. Casty had an RBI double in the second. Turner had a moonshot of a home run. And then, you could have added on more in that first inning. You had the Drew Ellis big strikeout, which I knew as soon as he waved at those first two changeup from Wentz that he was going to strike out, because I think he was hunting fastball, because Joey Wentz, is a young pitcher. He wants to establish his fastball, because obviously tunneling wise, you can, break off of that. So I think Ellis was expecting a fastball there. Obviously he gets the changeup, strikes out. So, you then had Harper with an RBI single in the fifth, and then Turner again with a moonshot to make it 5-0. And I don't think there is a more dangerous thing in baseball. There's a couple things. You have Nick Castellanos batting when something bad's happening, and we saw it actually in this game. We had I forget his name, and I feel so bad because it was talking about such a great cause with ALS. It was ALS awareness and, getting more information out to people regarding this disease. And, he mentioned that the reason it's so bad is because it affects everybody differently. So, and obviously I'm not going to sit here on a soapbox and explain the terrible thing that is ALS. I'll save that for the professionals and somebody who knows a lot more than I do about it. But I remember on the broadcast, he said the reason this disease is so bad is because it affects everybody differently. But as he was saying that, Nick Castellanos ripped that RBI double. And Matt Hartman texted me. He goes, dude, Casty's going yard here. But I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time. But then obviously he hits a double. So, you then, and then the other dangerous thing is Aaron Nola with a 5-0 lead. This is now the third time that Aaron Nola has had a 5-0 lead, and I am terrified. He was throwing a no-hitter going into the seventh inning, going into the seventh inning. Pardon me. And I'm like, yo, Knowles? And I'm like, it's against the Tigers. Settle down. It's against the Detroit Tigers. And then Sosa had that bad error. You have first and second, 2 outs. Nola, the no-hitter's still going. And who steps to the bat? The Wolfman, Nick Maton. Got a nice ovation when he was introduced. Obviously, him and Matt Vierling got their NL champs rings over the weekend. It was great to see those guys. Vierling's on the IL, so Nick Maton, I knew was going to kill us this series, and he did. Then Nick Maton does the most diabolical thing I have ever seen, which was absolutely pimp a hanging breaking ball from Nola to make it 5-3. And I saw a tweet that said, of course, like Aaron Nola can't lose a no-hitter like on a dinky little single up the middle or like a rocket. Of course, it has to be a absolute it's a moonshot, a second deck home run from Nick Maton, and he does the bat flip, and everyone's like, oh, that shouldn't be around baseball. No. I love the bat flips. I love when pitchers are like the F you attitude, like, here's my stuff, hit it if you can. If you strike out, I got you and I'm going to celebrate. But if you get me, I want you to celebrate. I think Trevor Bauer said that, when back in 2021, when Fernando Tatis hit a home run off of him, and Tatis was like, doing something. I think he was like covering his eye because of one of the at-bats. Like Bauer was like going like this to mess with them. And then they asked him about it. They asked Bauer, he said, like, how do you feel about Tatis like doing that too? He said, I love it. Like, that's what this game is about. It's competitive. Like, if I beat you, I'm going to celebrate. But if you beat me, I want you to celebrate. And I love that. He does the bat flip, especially against his former team. You had to. So then you make it 5-3. And now you have a game. The Phillies were cruising in this game. And now you have a ball game. You're 5-3. All 3 runs were unearned because of the Sosa error. So Nola 7 shutout innings, technically, which I don't fully understand because he gave up the home run. But I guess they explained it in the broadcast that because Maton wouldn't have come up in that situation specifically because the third out would have been recorded on the Sosa error, which is so he was not credited with an at bat in the technical terms, but he still got the hit, but he still gave up the home run. So I don't understand why all 3 runs were unearned. I would have assumed 1 run, but that's just me. You then had JT. So the Phillies answered back immediately, and it felt like I was looking in a mirror where the Tigers were the Phillies and the Phillies were the Tigers. The Phillies answered right back with a JT RBI double and a Sosa RBI single. So Sosa made up for it. And to make it 8-3, and then Dominguez and Vasquez closed the door for the Phils, and they take game 1 of this series and carry on a 3-game winning streak after this, which is huge. You know, this team dug themselves a hole, and now they're starting to claw their way out of it, which is good. And they're still very much in the wild card race because of how terrible the National League as a whole is outside of the Braves, the Dodgers, even the Diamondbacks, which I'm not surprised at. A lot of people started to overrate the Diamondbacks, but everybody who's like baseball people knew how good the Diamondbacks were going to be. The Marlins surprisingly are like 5 games over 500 right now, so like they're clicking. You have Luis Arias who's hitting over 400 right now, so shout out to the Marlins. And then other than that, everybody's kind of in the mix for these wild card spots. You know, the Brewers are ahead, but then you have the Pirates who have still kind of leveled out from their hot start, but are still trucking along a little bit. Who else is in that division? The Brewers, the Cardinals, the Reds, who are turning it on right now. Elad De La Cruz just made his MLB debut, which was electric. So, you know, there's a lot of teams fighting for these spots. So the Phillies aren't exactly dug in a hole. Well, they did, but because they can be so much, you know, farther ahead and have like the first wild card spot secure. But instead, we're just figuring it out. We're getting the feet wet. We're rolling. So, great game 1. Game 2 is interesting. The Phillies won 1-0. My player of the game is Taijuan Walker. I actually didn't watch this game, and I'll explain why. So me and Will, who's been on here, we all know Will. We love Will. Went to see Spider-Man. We were supposed to go, and then we weren't going to, and then we went. And so the story here is the movie started at like 6:40, right around when the Phillies game started. And the game's like the movie's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Awesome movie, by the way. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Very good movie. A lot of funny Easter eggs. Would highly recommend seeing it. I'm not going to talk about the movie because this isn't a movie podcast. It's a baseball podcast, and I don't want spoilers. I'm not that type of guy. But when the credits rolled, I went on my phone to be like, oh, it's like 9:00. The game's probably still going on, especially in a Taijuan Walker start. I'm looking at the game and I'm like, that can't be right. The game's over. 1-0. The game was 2 hours and 7 minutes. I was like, okay. I looked at Will. I'm like, dude, the game's already over. They won 1-0. And he just starts dying laughing. And the only run of this game was the Schwarber leadoff home run. I felt like I was watching a game from last year. Also, Schwarber needs to stay in the leadoff spot. Can we just stop doing it? The Phillies have started winning since Taijuan Walker, or not Taijuan Walker. Jesus. The Phillies have started winning since Kyle Schwarber has been in the leadoff spot. So can we just stop? Just keep the good vibes going. This lineup is working right now, especially if you're adding Alec Bohm to it. Excuse me, I had a lump in my, allergies, man. But you just the Phillies should have won this game a lot. They should have won this game by a lot more. You had a lot of home runs that are home runs on most nights get blown back in. You had Harper with one. I'm pretty sure Schwarber had another, if I remember people talking about it. And Harper was upset. You saw him throwing his helmet in the dugout, was like, come on, because he almost had one in game 1 that if it was about 10 feet to the right, he hit it in that triangle area of left center field. If he hit it about 10 feet to the right, it's gone. But it's good to see the powers there with Harper, because a lot of the worry is when he was coming back from Tommy John that the power would be zapped. And yeah, he isn't hitting for as much power. And, as power heavy as this lineup is, the Phillies don't really have a very powerful lineup. They don't really have the boom guy. We're hoping Schwarber gets back on track. Castellanos is still hitting for a very high average, still driving the ball, just not out of the ballpark. So obviously Rhys Hoskins out for the year. You don't know what you're going to get with Derek Hall when he comes back. You hoped Bohm would hit for a little more power. Maybe he will. Maybe that hamstring was bothering him a little bit. Couldn't really drive under the ball. So maybe we'll see a little more power from him when he comes back. But guys like Marsh, Stott, even Turner, JT, for a catcher, hits a lot of home runs, but they're not power guys. They're average guys, which I think that's what makes this Phillies lineup so deep and dynamic is you have the power guys, the Schwarbers, Harpers, Casties, even Bohm if you hope to turn the corner, but then you subsidize that with a lot of high average guys, Stott, Marsh, Turner. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Whoever's playing first or third base, I mean, you're going to get average out the wazoo, whoever's playing that position, respectfully with Cody Clemens, who, again, I've been in love with Cody Clemens and what he's been able to do so far. And I honestly think he should be starting at first base, not starting, but when Derek Hall's ready, what do you do with Cody Clemens? I'm pretty sure he has the ability to play all the infield positions, but obviously he's being at first base because of the need. So do you keep him? Do you get rid of Josh Harrison? Please get rid of Josh Harrison. Please get rid of Josh Harrison. But the only contrast to that is if you bring Hall back up, you then have three of your four bench options as lefties, right? Well, I guess 3 of the 5 are lefties with, you would have Hall, Clemens, Stubbs, all as bench options. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do once Derek Hall's ready, because I honestly believe that Cody Clemens has earned his place here, and he's played exceptionally well. Yeah, he had that error in the 8th inning that led to the run eventually scoring, but I blame Josh Harrison more than I blame Cody Clemens for that play. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Cody Clemens once Hall is back. I wouldn't be shocked if they want Hall to stay in AAA for a little bit to really get that power back. And if Clemens starts to slip off, then you just do a little flip-flop, get some power in this lineup, get, a guy who can play a solid first base and just figure it out from there. So, coming back to game 2, I got way off track there. Walker, 7 innings, 2 hits, no 1 runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. I think this was the best start in a Phillies uniform for Taijuan Walker. I think he has been throwing the ball exceptionally well recently. A guy who it looks like the guy we paid $70+ million for. I forget the numbers, but they're probably better now. He had like a 2.5 ERA his past 5 starts. Like, he's been really, really well. He's been pitching extremely well. And obviously you look and, his last start against the Mets, he went like 4 innings, gave up 4, but he had that discomfort. So obviously whatever discomfort he was feeling is fixed now because he's through 7 shut. And again, I'm tampering expectations here because it was against the Detroit Tigers. You then had Dominguez and Kimbrel to close it out. So, awesome game. Again, I didn't watch it. Full disclosure, did not watch this game. I was watching Spider-Man and Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy, and shout out to John Mulaney. And Jake Johnson, that's his name. The guy from New Girl. Love New Girl, by the way. One of my favorite shows. If you haven't seen New Girl, watch it. Idiots. What are you doing? It's on Hulu now. They took it off Netflix. Bastards. Then we get to last night's game. Phillies won 3-2. My players of the game, Cody Clemens and Zach Wheeler. This game was actually moved from Wednesday to Thursday because of the smoke that's going against the East Coast right now from the fires in Canada. So thanks a lot, Canada. But we got the powder blues. So thanks, Canada. So you had a pitcher's duel, basically. I forget the pitcher for the Tigers, but he was a rookie. Threw the ball well. Like, his stuff was jumping, and they might have something in him. Wheeler, a lot of zeros for that guy. He carried a no-hitter into the 8th inning. And Josh Harrison, you blew it. you look at that, the play that I'm referring to, he gets the first out pretty easily the eighth inning, and I'm like, the first out's always the most important out in a baseball game. That's, baseball 101. You then get to the play, and I forget the hitter, and I apologize, do better notes, dude. So Wheeler, it's a short hop for Harrison, and I get you're trying to make the play, and it was a lot of moving parts. Harrison picked the ball, and I feel like he had time to kind of plant his feet and fire across. Instead, he tried to throw on the run. It was a bad hop. Clemens couldn't handle it. It was an error. And then, of course, who else but Nick Maton, or it wasn't Nick Maton that broke up the no-hitter. I forget who it was that broke up. Was it Nevin, Nessie, or something like that? That broke up the no-hitter after 7 1/3. But then, we obviously Wheeler, huge applause. He went 7 1/3, 1 hit, no one runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. He was phenomenal. And again, it was against the Tigers. I need to be like, oh, Wheeler is back, Nola's back, Walker's, but we're all the National League's looking out now. Do this against the Dodgers, and then I will be saying, oh, watch out, the Phillies, the Phils right now. But Wheeler gets pulled out of the game. He had over 100 pitches at this point. And he got a great ovation and well-deserved. He pitched a gem of a game. He was this close. And obviously, you're like, oh, why you blame Josh Harrison? Well, because you don't know if Josh Harrison makes that play, and the same thing goes for Cody Clemens. You don't know what happens in the next at-bat. The next pitch could have been a single. So, we don't know, but, maybe you would have pitched him a little differently. You're not pitching from the stretch, and pitchers hate pitching from the stretch, so I don't know. But then you had Dominguez come in. You have first and third, 1 out, and yes, you give the big applause to Wheeler. He pitched a great game. But then you got to realize, oh my God, they have first and third. We're only up 1-0. They have 1 out. How are we going to maneuver this? Then Dominguez gets up, and Zach Short is squaring for a suicide squeeze. And here was the aforementioned blunder. Instead of Stott going to first base, I think there was some miscommunication because Stott and Clemens both charged, therefore leaving first base open. Seranthony fielded the ball cleanly, but by that time the runner already went home. And there's no play at first base because Clemens and Stott both charged. So normally what would happen is you would have the third baseman holding on the runner, the shortstop covering second base, the second baseman covering first base, and Clemens is the player that's supposed to be charging the ball. I'm not sure exactly where the defensive miscue was, but Stott and Clemens both charged, leaving first base open. No play. Luckily, Seranthony was able to work around it. So no harm, no foul, but there's a tie game now. So what are you going to do? We then get to the 9th inning, and everybody was throwing a hissy fit that Craig Kimbrell was put in and not, Gregory Soto or Vasquez, not that, but Hoffman or somebody. Craig Kimbrell has been one of the most reliable pitchers the Phillies have had in the bullpen, and he's their closer right now. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but his past however many outings, he's been dominant. So in Topper's mind, he's going to his best guy. And yes, this would have been, he didn't pitch in game 1, did he? No, he didn't. 2 games in 2 days, whatever. I don't care. I don't blame Topper for going with Craig Kimbrell in this game. So Kimbrell, an inning, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and a strikeout, just didn't have it. He wasn't locating his best stuff. But if history tells ourselves anything, we're in for a Kimbrell hot streak for the Dodgers series. Look out for game 3, Craig Kimbrell versus the Dodgers revenge game when he strikes out Betts, Freeman, and Muncy. Book it right now. And I can't be right, but I can't gloat that I was right until a week from now. So keep an eye out for that. And then, of course, it's Nick Maton, who hits the RBI single in the 9th. It was a hanging slider from Kimbrell, just whacked it right into right. So whatever. We get to the 9th inning, and I was texting Matt Sportsky. I'm like, what's the most easiest Phillies thing of all time? And it's like, oh, dude, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3 on 13 pitches. No. Harper, first pitch at the bottom of the 9th inning, rips a double. And then we're like, oh, we're in business. And then Turner walked, which was awesome to see. Again, he's been working really good at bats. I think we're starting to see Turner turn it on a little bit, no pun intended. The JT double play I thought was gonna happen. But didn't he flew out or yeah, he struck out. Yes. Right? Yeah. No. What happened with JT? Hold on, let me pull it up. Let me get professional. Professional. JT, he he did something, didn't he? Hold on. No, I want all. JT, what did you do? What did you do, Mr. Realito? He did strike out. I knew it because I'm like, JT, that's ball four. What are you swinging at? And then you get to Bryson Stott, who singled, and Baez made an excellent play to keep that ball from going into left field because Harper would have scored. And thank God Harper didn't get injured when he was running around because he was full steam, like ready to go home. And he pumped the brakes. Marsh flicked it out the left, sac fly. We're tied. Okay, we're tied up. Go to extras. Your bullpen's rested. You got a fresh arm. You know, you can go Soto, Hoffman, Brogdon, whomever. You have guys in this bullpen that you can trust. You then get to Cody Clemens, who rips an RBI single against his former team. It was a revenge game for everybody. Maton revenge game, Cody Clemens revenge game for a walk-off. And I think the coolest thing of all of this entire game was the fact that they had Roger Clemens in the booth for a couple innings talking about Cody, and Cody even hit a ball. They got it back, or had it hit a single when Roger was up there, and they authenticated it and gave the Roger Clemens. So that was awesome to see. Love the Rocket. And it was great to see Cody Clemens do that with his dad in the stands and everything. So that's a sweep. I would get the broom again, but it is across the room. So no more broom jokes. And now we are back with another Where Are They Now? Woo, extravaganza. We have three Phillies legends from the bullpen that have graced us today. Our first person is Mike Morin. Who remembers Mike Morin tackling big innings for the 2019 Philadelphia Phillies? Because I do. Morin was drafted in the 13th round of 2012 by the LA Angels, a team which he spent 2014 to 2017 with. Then he spent time with the Royals, the Mariners, and then finally ended up with the Phillies. In 2019, when he was traded for cash considerations, it was so hard to see cash considerations go, but I understand it's a move you got to make in order to have Mike Morin in the back of your bullpen. In that 2019 season, he pitched in 29 games, 28 innings, 26 hits, 18 earned runs, 8 walks, and 15 strikeouts to the tune of a 5.79 ERA. Yeah, he was bad. He was really bad, Mike Morin. I hated seeing him come in the games. But it was the same thing with Jared Hughes, who I mentioned in the last episode. He was good-ish coming into the Phillies. You know, he was fine. He was a fine bullpen piece. But then he comes here and forgets how to pitch, which was great. So after he left in free agency after the 2019 season, he then spent 2020 with Milwaukee and Miami. He then, in 2022, spent time with the Kane County Cougars of the American Association of Professional Baseball. Okay. I tried to find stats for him there, but to no avail. Then he signed with the White Sox in 2023, was then released on a minor league deal, and now he's in Garros de Oaxaca of the Mexican League in currently. So Mike Morin come back in 2024? Maybe. The guy's still trying to do the dang thing, so maybe he's trying to figure some stuff out. So shout out to Mike Morin. We then get to, I would say, my least favorite Phillies pitcher from this era. And it's a guy that every time Joe Girardi would go to him, I would ask, why? Why are we trusting this guy in a big situation? I have no idea. I'll never forgive him for the St. Louis Cardinals game going with David Hale over Seranthony or over I forget who, but he shouldn't have been in that Cardinals game. And if anybody has been with Phillies, you would know that I'm referring to David Hale. Now, David Hale was a third round pick in 2009 by the Atlanta Braves, and he spent 2013 to 2014 with Atlanta, 2015 to 2016 with Colorado, 2018 to 2019, he was with the Yankees, then Minnesota, then back with the Yankees, stayed with the Yankees until 2020, and then he was traded to the Phillies in 2020 and spent 2020 as part of 2021 with the Phillies. He was traded for Addison Russ. I would have traded nothing for David Hale. I wouldn't have traded for David Hale. But of course, Joe Girardi has to get his guys. All right, get my guys because they're solid guys. We have to go with them. Yeah, let me bring Ronald Tracy. Let me bring this guy. Let me bring this guy. Yeah, David Hale was atrocious. Bad for the Phillies. Wasn't even good. Wasn't even semi-good. Like he had a bright spot. He was bad. The entire duration that David Hale was a pitcher with the Phillies, terrible. So in his Phillies tenure, 28 games, 43 and 2/3 innings, 53 hits, 26 earned runs, 13 walks, 35 strikeouts, a 5.36 ERA for David Hale. What are we doing? That guy sucks. They finally DFA'd him in June of 2021. I wanted to pop bottles and spray because David Hale was no longer throwing innings for my team, and he has not been seen in Major League Baseball since. I haven't seen that he officially retired. I don't know if he's trying to make a comeback. I couldn't find anything on him. So burn in hell, David Hale. I'll see you there. The next player is a bit of more recent Phillies. He, I believe, got a National League Championship ring. Um, it was a guy who I had high expectations for, considering the stuff, and he looked really good when we first got him, but then kind of tampered off a little bit. And that will be Sam Coonrod. Sam Coonrod was drafted in the 5th round of 2014 by the San Francisco Giants, team he spent 2019 to 2020 with. He was then traded to the Phillies for Carson Ragsdale, which I liked Carson Ragsdale in 2021. And with the Phillies, he wasn't at the beginning of his Phillies tenure wasn't that bad. He was throwing the ball well. His whole thing was walks. It was always walks with Sam Coonrod. You know, he threw upper 90s to triple digits, had the stuff, just couldn't figure it out. He spent 54 games, 55 innings pitched, 53 hits, 30 earned runs, 22 walks, 60 strikeouts to the tune of a 4.91 ERA. So not very good. I had a lot of higher expectations for him, higher hopes for him. I thought he was going to be a guy who was going to be his mainstay in the bullpen, a triple digits guy, which if Andy MacPhail saw a guy in the bullpen throwing triple digits, he might go into cardiac arrest. But, you know, he was then DFA'd in 2023, and he's currently in the Mets organization. He's on the 60-day IL, I believe, with a lat strain, if I'm not mistaken, so not good. He spent a majority of 2022 on the injured list as well. So shout out to Sam Coonrod. I hope that DFA doesn't come to bite us, or it might come to help us if he gets healthy and the Phillies can hit him around a little bit. So that thus concludes another edition of Where Are They Now? I'm glad I'm enjoying this series and looking into what happened to these guys. So if you guys enjoy this, maybe once I run out of the entire list that I have here, maybe I'll go into like the rebuild era arms to see maybe there's some guys in there, or maybe I'll look back at like some Phillies trades, see, you know, who won, you know, look at the Gene Segura trade. God, who else? You know, deadline trades, the Kyle get. Maybe I'll look into that. Maybe that's something I can do once this series is over. So we'll see. Okay. Now we have the Dodgers coming into town. And if anybody remembers, we got pantsed in LA during that Dodgers series. So pitching wise, we have Ranger Suarez versus Michael Grove, Aaron Nola versus Bobby Miller, and Taijuan Walker against TBD. So the pitching wise, starter wise, on our side, especially if Ranger, Nola, and Walker are turning the corner, being more good than bad. But it's the Dodgers. You can never count out the Dodgers. They are a wagon of an organization. It's annoying, but I gotta respect it. It's the same thing with Atlanta. I'm kind of glad I'm not going to be able to watch this series because I'm terrified. You know, they're 5-game winning streak right now. Good vibes all the way around, but it's the Dodgers. They are a very, very, very good team. Take one. If they win one game of this series, I consider it a win. So fingers crossed there. Now we got to get to what's coming ahead. So I'm leaving for vacation on Saturday. What the hell am I saying? Saturday, tomorrow. And I will be gone for 5 days. I won't be back until God, what day will I be back? The 15th. So what is that? So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday I'll be back in the morning. But then I'm at Ashland's because it's her birthday. So I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get home, but I will be gone all week, so I won't be able to record a podcast live that week. However, I did pre-record a podcast with my friend Blake. It's over an hour long, which we just talk about kind of like what's going on with the Phils, prospects. It's a live reaction. We recorded it during the Drew Ellis game against the Nationals, so you have some live reactions to that happening, which was really fun to see and kind of look back at that. So look out for that. That's coming Monday morning. So hopefully that can tide you guys over until I'm back doing this stuff live. So I will be back. I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna try to be back maybe that Thursday. I come back because I have to come back to my house anyway for Ashlyn's gifts and to prepare some stuff and to kind of unpack and repack to go to her house. So I don't know exactly when I will be back, to tell you the God honest truth. I'm going to try to be back Thursday, maybe that Thursday, depending on what time we get back. So I will try to keep you guys updated as much as I possibly can. Obviously, being out in sea, there's not a lot of more service going on. So I will do my best to kind of be present a little bit. So thank you guys so much for watching. Follow, subscribe, everything down below. You know the drill. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you on the other side.